So today's video is going to be part 2 of the fry selection that I got from Just Koi York. About 10 days ago I netted 66 fish and put 42 into a separate tank for fish to move on, ones that I don't want to keep. But I didn't want to put too many in at a time. So today I'm just going to do another couple of netfuls, select which ones I want to keep, grow on probably another 6 or 7 months or so, and then the other ones I'll put in with the ones that I selected last week. They're all doing good. The IBC water tests are all fine. I put in a pond bomb when I put them in last week, and once I put them in again this week, I'll probably add in another pond bomb, and then in a couple of weeks' time, I'll do another 2 netfuls and see how we get on from there. So this is what's still left in the grow on tank. All the ones that I need to go through. Like I said, I'll do a couple of netfuls today. See which ones I want to keep. I've got my 3 buckets set up outside again. So I'll do a net full, put them in there, and then ones that I don't want to keep, I'll chuck in that one, and ones that I'll grow on a bit longer, I'll put in there. There you go, guys. So this is the first net full I've got out. Already you can see quite a few nice ones. The colour seems to be popping a lot more than last week. A couple of weeks left in the grow on tank. Seems to have brought their colours out a little bit more as well. So same as last week, I'll just select them individually in the net. Explain a little bit as why I want to keep them or why I don't want to keep them, and then we'll sort them between the 2 buckets. So first one I've got, probably not a keeper. Nice size for him being about 5 months old, but as you can see, only one little red spot on his back. Looks like a nice fish, but not one that I'm going to keep. Again, just another little small plain white one, one that I'm not going to keep. I'm going to move him on. Sankey or Showa, not too sure. I suppose you'd call him a Showa. He's got that little bit of black on his head, but again, not a great size compared to some of the others, so one that I'm not going to be keeping. Again, another one, bit too much black on it for my liking, so one that I'll move on. Another one that I'm not going to be keeping, again a bit too much black on it, and he's also, one side of his mouth is a tiny little bit deformed. You can't really see it unless you pick him up, but it just sort of hangs down on one side a little bit. So again, one that I'm not going to be keeping. So a nice Shiro there, nice even black on him, or Sumi, nice and spread out. Yeah, nice fish. I'll be keeping him to grow on a little bit longer. Again, another one that I'll probably not be keeping. Bit too much black down his dorsal fin, not a lot of pattern to him, so one that I'll be moving on. Again, another Ginrin Platinum Ogon, I guess. I don't know if that mark on his head is just because he's a young fry still, or if that's going to turn into any sort of colour or pattern, but too many of these to keep, so one that I'll be moving on. Not too sure about this one. I guess you'd call it a Sankey. One that I don't think I'll be keeping. Bit too small. So yeah, I think I'll be moving him on. Again, one probably that I'll keep. He's got looks like he's got lipstick on. Nice black pattern to the top of him. Looks like a little bit of red will be coming through just on that side there as well. So it might be quite an interesting fish to watch. But yeah, I'll keep him. Another one of the Asagi looking fish. Nice size to him, so probably one that I'm going to keep. See if he gets any bigger. Probably one of the biggest ones that I've got in here at the minute. Quite a small fish, not a great pattern to him. Sumi, let's try and get him out of this sun bit here. Sumi looks all a little bit mottled and that, so probably not one that I'll be keeping on. Again, probably not one that I'm going to keep. A nice size to him, but literally just got that one bit of red on the top of his head and shoulders, so I don't think anything else will come out on him, so one that I'm not going to be keeping. So we'll be keeping this guy. Nice little black Sumi pattern. You can also see a little bit of black that's going to be coming through on the top of his head around there. So yeah, I'll be keeping him. One to keep an eye on, I think. So Ginrin Gahaku, again one that I'm not going to be keeping. Too many of them in the selection, but not really anything that stands out on this fish, so one that I'll be moving on.
You can see
So Showa, I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but quite a nice Sumi pattern on him, quite a bit of red coming through on his shoulders, so yeah, one that I think I'm going to keep and grow on a little bit longer. So another Showa, again another one that I think I'll be keeping, just to grow on a little bit more and see if anything else develops on him. Quite a nice looking fish, I think. So yeah, we'll keep him. Another one that I'm not going to be keeping, literally all orange with a tiny little black dot on his tail, so nothing that stands out on this one either. Not too sure about this one. I guess you call it a Sankey, as there's no Sumi on his head, but again I don't think I'll be keeping this one. Not really much of a pattern to him, only a tiny little bit of red on his head and not much else, so one that I'll be moving on. So another Ginrin Gahaku, again like I said I've got too many of these to keep, so again nothing stands out on this fish. Not very bright Benny on it, high on him, so nothing that I'll be keeping. So a teeny tiny one, again not really a great pattern to him or anything like that, just a bit all a bit mottled, so one that I'll be moving on. So another Ginrin Gahaku again, one that I'll be moving on. So a nice size Gahaku, but again one that I don't think I'm going to be keeping. Quite a lot of red on his head and one tiny little red dot underneath his dorsal fin. Nice size to him, but one that I don't think I'm going to be keeping. So another Showa, but again a bit too much Sumi. Not really any pattern to him, just one big black blodge on him, so one that I'm not going to be keeping. Another Platinum Ogon, I think. Not too sure if that red mark on his head will come out or if it's just because he's a young fry again. Like I said, let me know in the comments if you know any different, but I've got quite a few of these just plain white ones. It looks like their skull or their brain or something that shows through, but yeah, not one that I'll be keeping. So again another one of these that I'm not too sure on what it actually is, just like very blue on top, but then no sort of other colour. Oh, keep zooming in a bit too much.
Still recording.
Yeah, not one that I'll be keeping in a way. So again another two of these unknown to me, but ones that I'm not going to be keeping in a way. Sankey, I'm guessing, again one that I'm not going to be keeping. Not a lot of red on him at all, just on his head. Black, no real pattern to it, just seems to be random blotches everywhere, so one that I'm not going to be keeping. Another one of these ones that I'm not too sure about, it just seems a lot darker than the others on top, so not too sure of the variety of this one, but one that I'm not going to be keeping in a way. Quite a little interesting fish, this one. It looks like it's got black lipstick on, but again one that I'm not going to be keeping. Bit too much black for my liking, not a lot of red on him at all, so yeah, one that we'll move on. So yet again another one of these ones, one that I'll not be keeping. Another Showa, I'm guessing, but not a lot of high on him. The Sumi seems a little bit blotchy in places, so one that I don't think I'm going to keep. So a little Gahaku here, quite hard to make out his pattern, but he has got a 3 or a 4 step on him, but it's really light at the minute. I'm hoping it might come out a little bit, so I'll keep him and see if anything else develops. Again, not too sure, I'm guessing a Sankey as there's no Sumi on his head or anything, but the one that I'll not be keeping. A lot of black on his shoulders and back, a bit of a red head, but that's about it, so not one that I'll be keeping in a way. Ginrin Gahaku again, but I don't think I'll be keeping him, although the high on him seems to be standing out quite a bit more than the others, but again, just that little bit on his head, tiny little bit, a red dot on his shoulder, and not much else, so not one that I'll be keeping. Ginring Tansho, I'll be keeping him. High on him, stands out quite a bit on his head, even though he is quite small. Keep him and see if he develops into something. Ginring Platinum Ogon, again, not one that I'm going to bother keeping. Like I said, too many of these variety in here to keep any ones that aren't any decent size at the minute. If I find any bigger ones, then I'll keep them, but these smaller ones I'll be moving on. Ginring Gahaku again, not one that I'll be keeping. Like I said, too many of these already. The high on him is very faint still, so one that I'll be moving on again. Another one of these ones, don't know whether to call it an Asagi or not, but please let us know. But must have about 100 of these, so I'm not going to be keeping him anyway. So another Ginring Gahaku, again only tiny little bits of high on him, a little bit on his head, a little bit underneath his dorsal fin, but then not a lot else, so not one that I'll be keeping in a way. So again, another quite small fish. I don't think his head is red, it's just really weird creamy colour, so I'm guessing it's a Shiro or something like that, but not one that I'll be keeping in a way. Another Gahaku, again high on his head's quite bright, but he's got a little bit on his side there and another little bit on his tail, but that's about it, so not really any pattern to him or anything like that, so not one that I'll be keeping in a way. Again, another little tiny Gahaku, and a tiny little bit of high on his head and underneath his dorsal fin. Quite a small fish still, so not one that I'll be keeping. Another Ginring Gahaku, again tiny little red dot underneath his dorsal fin and another one little on his side. Not very bright high, so not one that I'll be keeping. So Gahaku here, I think I'm going to be keeping him, even though his high is really faint. Again, it's another 3-step pattern to him, so I just hope it comes out a little bit more. Probably not the greatest of body shapes. I don't know. Saying that, might be alright. But yeah, we'll keep him and see if he develops any better. So last fish for this net full. Not too sure about this one. The high on his head stands out quite a lot, and his sumi is nice and black as well, nice and dark. But not really any sort of pattern to him, just one big blodge on the back. But for some reason I quite like him. Fairly decent size, so I think I'm going to keep him, just see what happens with him. Yeah, I actually quite like him. So those are the ones that I've selected to keep for now. Not a lot out of that net full, and then these are the ones that I'm going to move on. Again, can't really see them because of the glare. So keepers and non-keepers. See if I can get a better. Made it worse, that one.